Today I am going to take up ISC collection of poems, Reverie for class 12. We begin the Darkling Thrush. The poem Darkling Thrush is written by Thomas Hardy. This particular poem, The Darkling Thrush, was written by Thomas Hardy at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century. The poet was much disturbed by the changes that took place because of the Industrial Revolution, the changes in agriculture, the total failure in agriculture, and the people migrating from the villages to the cities for job. Because of the failure of the Industrial Revolution, people became unemployed. They went around in search of job and food. The poet is deeply depressed by the state of affairs that was going on in Great Britain and also the European countries. He, in this particular poem, hears a thrush. It's a brown small bird with spots on its breast, singing joyfully, which surprises him as to what has made this particular bird sing in such a gloomy atmosphere. The bird singing had hope, which the poet does not know, but he realizes that there must be some cause which has made this particular bird sing the song. This is the first stanza, my dear students, of the poem The Darkling Thrush. I leant upon a coppice gate when frost was sceptre grey, and winter's dregs made desolate the weakening eye of day. The tangled vine stems scored the sky like strings of broken lyres, and all mankind that haunted night had sought their household fires. In this particular poem, the poet tells us about the weather, the climate in the 19th century. He says that it is a very cold wintry day. It's past evening and the entire landscape is barren and frosty. The frost has made the landscape sceptre grey. Sceptre grey here means that the snowfall has made the entire place look white like snow. It seems to him as if it is as free as a ghost. It seems that there is no life and the entire world is filled with snow, and when the world turns away from the sun, it brings cold and darkness. In the same way, this particular state is very cold because of the snowfall. In the 5th and 6th lines of the stanza, the poet uses similes, tangled vine stems and strings of broken lyres. Vine stems are shrubs and lyre is the string of a musical instrument. The stems of climbing shrubs remind the speaker of strings of an old broken musical instrument. The tangled stems also remind of summer, making the winter seem more harsher. The instrument's string is broken and there is no music or sound, and so is this particular area barren and filled with ice, signifies absence of joy. In the last two lines, the poet says that the place is so frost-filled and so chilly cold that the people have sought shelter in their homes beside the fire so that they could warm themselves. So, from the first stanza, the poet tells us that the world appears to him colorless and very cold, and with a few memories of the melody of warmth that has vanished from his mind because of this cold, chilly season. This is the second stanza, my dear students. The land's sharp features seem to be the century's corpse outleaned. His crisped the cloudy canopy, the wind its death lament. The ancient pulse of germ and birth was shrunken, hard and dry, and every spirit upon earth seemed fervorless as I. In this stanza, the poet tells us about the sharp outlines of the winter landscape, which appears to him like the sharp features of a corpse, the corpse of the dying 19th century. The cloudy sky seems like the century's tomb, and the winter wind its death song. The poet further says that the seeds are not able to germinate because of the cold, frosty season. It has become hard and dry and are unable to germinate. In the same way, human beings also are not at all seen. No life forms are seen, and every life form on this earth has vanished in this particular season. And the same has happened to the poet. The poet also has become fervorless as every life forms on this earth, as is observed by the poet. In this particular stanza, the poet observes the pulse of life that vitalizes and energizes him and the other people, the death of hope. This is the third stanza. At once a voice arose among the bleak twigs overhead, in a full-hearted ever song of joy illimited. An aged thrush, frail, gaunt and small, in blast beautiful plume, had chosen thus to fling his soul upon the growing bloom. In the third stanza, the poet changes his way of view from desolation, from distress to hope. The speaker suddenly hears an old thrush, that is a bird, singing a beautiful song. A thrush is a songbird that is brownish in color with spots on its breast. The song that the thrush sings is filled with unlimited joy, quite in contrast with the season. The poet tells us of ever song, meaning a song sung in the evening. He tells us also of the aged bird, signifying the last day of the century. The bird is aged and frail, perhaps facing its own end, and it flings its soul, opens its beak, and sings with all its might, even though it dies. The image of the bird choosing to fling its soul upon the growing bloom suggests both hope and desperation. It is an indirect reference to the sufferings of Christ on the cross, and later on the third day, his resurrection from the dead, bringing hope and joy to mankind. This is the last stanza, my dear students. So little cause of carolings of such ecstatic sound was written on terrestrial things, afar or nigh around, that I could think they trembled through his happy good night air, some blessed hope whereof he knew, and I was unaware. In this last stanza, the poet is filled with hope because of the song of the bird. The poet is unable to comprehend what has made the bird so happy, so that it sings the song of the carolings. Carolings is the song sung on the eve of Christmas time and on the Christmas day. Even though the poet can recognize that the bird is singing a happy song, yet he cannot experience the happiness from within. However, the word blessed and hope is suggestive that there might be some religious reasons behind the joyful singing of the bird. Ever songs are the evening prayers sung in the church. Secondly, carolings are the Christmas carols. Hope is one of the three Christian virtues: faith, hope, and charity, loving one another. Finally, the speaker has personified hope as if it were a human being given hope to mankind. It is an indirect reference of the hope of the resurrection of Christ. Although the speaker acknowledges his inability to understand the joy behind the bird's song, yet it fills him with the feeling that there may be some cause that in the near future he might be able to come to know about the cause of happiness of this beautiful bird.